Dear all, the question is posed seriously: where should one live in old age, and with whom to live to be happy? In Eastern culture, living near or with children is considered obvious, a normal destination of life. But in modern society, especially in Western culture, people begin to realize that living near children does not always bring the peace we think. This may sound counterintuitive, even somewhat selfish. But if we put aside the superficial moral shell, look directly at reality, we will see. The decision to live near children in old age, if not carefully considered, can be one of the biggest mistakes in life. Let's go into detail. 3 basic factors, 1 hard-to-say truth and sincere advice. The first factor, parent-child affection, is identified by the word beautiful, but is not immune to pressure. Parent-child affection is considered one of the most intimate, sacred, and lasting relationships in a person's life. However, that sacredness does not mean that it is immune to fluctuations or pressure. On the contrary, the closer and more loving, the deeper the emotional scars when problems appear. One of the hidden but common causes leading to cracks is the mismatch between parents' expectations and children's ability to respond. Parents, after a lifetime of devoting their whole lives to their children, often expect to receive regular attention, a phone call, a family meal, a few visits a week. For them, that is a manifestation of love and filial piety. But for children, especially in modern society, these seemingly simple things become a burden. Work pressure, responsibility for a small family, economic crisis, and suppressed personal needs make them lose much energy for a relationship that should be a peaceful haven. When expectations are not met, parents are vulnerable. They feel abandoned, forgotten, and from their blame arises, whether in words or in silence. On the contrary, children also feel burdened by a sense of guilt, are constantly reminded, and even lose the feeling of comfort when being near their parents. Love that should be natural and unconditional is now gradually conditioned. When love becomes a debt, the relationship will gradually turn into a form of emotional transaction. No one is truly happy in a relationship where every action has to be measured. And once love loses its naturalness, it is no longer true love. The solution lies not in blaming or avoiding, but in understanding and adjusting expectations from both sides. Parents need to learn to love their children without binding, so that love is a destination rather than a tightrope. Children also need to realize that caring does not have to be a big deal. Sometimes it is just a greeting, a short but sincere meeting. When there is mutual respect and no one sees themselves as a victim of love, family affection will no longer be a burden, but will truly be a place to return to. The second factor, from voluntary to obligation, from love to bondage. Family love, if not nurtured by voluntary and mutual respect, can easily slide from love to bondage, from care to resentment, especially in the relationship between parents and children living close to each other. When parents are close by, they often volunteer to help their children in daily life, taking their grandchildren to school, cooking, cleaning, taking care of the small family. Initially, all of these things come from love, a sincere desire to share. But over time, if that help is not recognized, there is no thank you, no clear limits, then the initial kindness can easily be distorted into obligation. The heartbreaking thing is that this transformation takes place silently, no one speaks up, but emotions quietly accumulate. The fathers and mothers who used to volunteer now begin to feel that they are being taken advantage of. They do not dare to refuse, because as relatives, they must help. But deep inside is the hurt. They no longer feel loved, but only a free resource, always ready, always present, but no longer appreciated. And at that time, children, whether intentionally or unintentionally, can gradually take their parents' help for granted, even feel annoyed if their parents interfere too much in their private lives. From the position of loved ones, parents can gradually turn into troublemakers. A caring question is considered prying. A comment out of concern is interpreted as imposing. Things that used to be done with joy become reluctant habits. Both sides are hurt, but because they are family, they do not speak out. Silence gradually kills the relationship, because negative emotions never disappear, they are just buried deep and accumulate. At some point they will burst out into conflict or distance. The easiest way to wear down a relationship is not to argue or disagree, but to abuse it silently. Loving without understanding the limits, helping without gratitude, caring without asking if the other person wants it, all of these are ways to unintentionally turn a close relationship into a burden. Maintaining a relationship is not about sacrificing more, but about resetting boundaries and learning to be grateful. Parents need to rest, need their own space, and children also need to learn to proactively share responsibilities in the family. No one should assume that love is synonymous with obligation. When love is a voluntary choice, it can maintain warmth and longevity. The third factor, loneliness, is still present, even when you are right next to each other. Loneliness does not come from being alone, but from feeling that no one is truly connected to you. In families that live together for generations, the painful paradox is, you can live right below your children and grandchildren, hear their laughter every day, but feel emptier than a person living alone. We often mistakenly think that geographical distance is the cause of loneliness, so just living close to each other, under the same roof, can fill all the gaps. But loneliness does not require space, it requires spiritual presence. A listening gaze, a simple question, "Are you tired today?" or just sitting together for no purpose, just to share, those are the things that truly connect. Without those moments, the presence of loved ones becomes a mirror reflecting indifference. You see them every day, but do not feel that you are still an important part of their lives. Many elderly people therefore feel lonely even in their homes. They still prepare meals for the whole family, still take their grandchildren to school, still wake up early to take care of every little thing, but no one asks if they are okay. Everything they do gradually becomes the default background, like a shadow in their daily lives. And like all shadows, it is present, but no one cares. That loneliness is deeper than a person living alone, because living alone, absence is understandable, but living among loved ones but not being connected, the feeling of abandonment is even more painful. You are there, but no one really sees you. You hear laughter, but are not invited to join in. You are in the house, but on the edge of everyone's emotions. In Western culture, especially in the United States, older people often choose to live independently, not because they lack affection, but because they understand that love does not require constant closeness, but rather requires space to remember each other, cherish each other, and keep feelings from being eroded by meaningless repetition. They choose freedom as a way to protect their dignity, preserve personal joy, and maintain truly valuable encounters, where every conversation is memorable, every hug is meaningful. No matter where you are, people are not afraid of being alone, they are only afraid of being forgotten. And sometimes, the cruelest thing is not having no one by your side, but being surrounded by loved ones but no one listening. That is the deepest loneliness. Ladies and gentlemen, there is a truth that is hard to say, but must be said: old age should not depend on children. This does not mean denying family affection or denying the role of filial piety, but rather an awakening to the necessary boundaries for a healthy and lasting relationship. In Western culture, there is a point of view that is repeated many times, as a principle of life: children are not your retirement plan. Children are not your retirement plan. It sounds dry and pragmatic, but behind it is a sober, humane thought. It reminds that love and responsibility should not be confused with dependence. Parents should not live their last years with the expectation that their children will take care of everything, from meals, sleep to spirit and finance. Just as children should not have to live with the feeling of paying a lifetime debt of gratitude, never ending, unable to breathe. When parents bet their old age on their children's repayment, they inadvertently put themselves in a weak position. Every unfulfilled expectation becomes a disappointment. Every time the child is busy, tired, and cannot visit, it is a heartbreaking moment. But what is more cruel is, that expectation also puts children in an unfair position. They live with the feeling of having to sacrifice, to fulfill their responsibilities, sometimes by putting their own lives on hold. And love, once attached to duty, will gradually become suffocating. People still mistakenly think that living dependently on each other is a manifestation of attachment. But the truth is, true love always comes with freedom. It is when parents maintain their independence economically, emotionally, and in lifestyle, so as not to turn their children into their sole support. It is when children take care of their parents voluntarily, not out of obligation. Only then will feelings remain pure, not tainted by hidden reproaches or feelings of being taken advantage of. In old age, if possible, prepare yourself for an active life. Learn to live alone without being lonely, be happy without needing someone by your side every day. Love is a precious thing, but it will be even more precious if it is preserved with understanding, not eroded by dependence. Love is not holding someone tightly, but giving each other enough distance so that both can be themselves and still want to find each other voluntarily, not out of responsibility. So how should we live in old age? The answer is not whether we live near or far from our children and grandchildren, but whether we are truly living for ourselves, fully, peacefully, and independently. That is the most sincere word. Live where you feel at peace. It could be a small apartment near your children and grandchildren, where you can occasionally meet and share simple joys, if the relationship is mature and respectful enough not to collide or invade each other's lives. But it could also be a quiet house elsewhere, a few hours' drive from your children, so that you have your own space, where you read books, walk, drink tea, befriend yourself and develop the things you have forgotten because you have spent your whole life taking care of others. Old age is not a time to wait for care, but a time to recreate an independent life, not only financially, but also emotionally and in terms of habits. Learn to cultivate your own joy, a delicious home-cooked meal, a get-together with friends, an art class, a dance party, or just sitting in the garden listening to the birds in the morning. Don't wait for your children to bring you happiness. Not only is that unfair to them, but it also makes you dependent on things beyond your control. Be proactive in building your own community. Old age should not only revolve around visits from your children and grandchildren, but also about having friends your own age who understand your concerns and share the simple things. A health club, a reading group, a charity event, or even just a few friends for a morning coffee, all are threads that connect you to a larger life beyond the family. Most importantly, love your children and grandchildren with tolerance, not with expectations. Don't love to demand, don't give to expect something in return. True love is giving and letting go at the right time, letting your children grow up their own way, and letting you live the rest of your life your own way. And always remember, your children are part of your life, but not your whole life. You still have yourself, with your hobbies, your old dreams that have not been fulfilled, your own relationships, and the right to live a gentle, peaceful old age. Once you live fully and peacefully with yourself, you will see, love does not need to be bound, does not need to be close, but can still be deep, warm, and lasting. Dear all, old age is the last chapter of life, but it is the only chapter you can write completely according to your will. Don't let that last chapter be written by your children's schedule or by unspoken expectations. Live the way you want. Happy, free, and fulfilled, no need to be close to anyone, just close to yourself. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe, so we can continue sharing helpful advice together. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.